Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you guys have enjoyed some of your projects up to now. Um, Today, I want to talk a little bit about our next project. Our first big project was cloning yourself, and so this is kind of gonna be our next big one. On the syllabus, I think it says color theory painting, but we're going to do something a little bit different, and this is going to be a color theory collage. This is such a fun thing to do in Photoshop, and Photoshop makes it kind of an easier way to do this. So, um, collage is not something that's new. It's something that has been around for a while. And this right here is the perfect example. This is something from Picasso, from one of his first works. And you'll notice he just uses a lot of different pieces and puts them together to create kind of a new composition. So people have been using it for a long, long time. And it's a great way to kind of create a new composition out of something new and different. But people have been using it more recently too, and you'll see it a lot with things uh, like album covers or social media posts or um, all sorts of different things. You'll see it. Collage is a great way to kind of marry certain elements that normally wouldn't be together. And so this is a great way of kind of being able to do that and being able to use pieces and shapes and textures and colors to kind of create something really new and unique and different. And as designers, it's a great way to kind of move and shape things to really make them stand out. This one is a great example of somebody who is using Photoshop in a collage setting. And as you notice, there's all these different layers, and you can tell where they've kind of cut a piece out, and they're kind of working on creating something interesting and new. Photoshop is a great way to do that because you can cut things out and then place them and move them however you feel is going to work the best way. It's a good way to take regular mundane photos like these. These were probably taken from some sort of, Olympic sports or something, and creating something new and interesting. And you can really take the shapes and take the colors and interact them with what's going on your photo, and do something that you wouldn't normally see put together. I love how the way these guys are kind of in a new space standing on this part over here, but it really takes some regular photos and really elevates them in a way that makes you want to look at them. Here's another great one. I love the use of shape in this one, just little pops over here, and you can see, some birds. This is really interesting with the sailboat, and it just kind of invites you to look and see what's going on. You have a shark over here with some water. You have some sort of an explosion. It just really beckons you and calls you into the art piece. Sometimes artwork like this also becomes almost a statement feature. And this one is kind of interesting because they've taken her face out of it and created something that's a little different. But it's really nice how they use the color and the photo and kind of marry them together to create this really interesting piece of artwork that you may not see everywhere. And the great use of textures and shapes just to create something totally new and different. This one is a little more about something that you might see in everyday life. It kind of has a theme to it, and as you notice, it's just a photo of a lady now in a on a landscape, and you think that it's kind of at the beach. And if you notice, she's not really realistically put into this space. And that's kind of a neat thing to look at, because really as designers, like, this is more less of realistic and more of something that we're using the shapes and the colors to kind of create a new something that brings you into it. This is another very interesting piece that really uses color to create something interesting. You see, we have a photo over here of a man, and then this element of a flower. But really, the greatest use on this one is the strong use of color, really of analogous colors. It really makes it really interesting. Here's another one where we have two figures. We have a lot of great line, and you can see that we have some landscape here that's sort of been cut out and placed in a way where you would normally never see them together, but it kind of becomes really interesting when you start to kind of marry these pieces together. And a great use of color here from the color wheel really makes it interesting with these two figures kind of stuck together over here. This is a little more of a simplistic one, but we still have our photo and what looks like to be sort of like a galaxy in the background. And what's really interesting is this use of this texture. And if you look at it, it could be a photo that's kind of blown out, but it kind of gives it this really interesting sketchy feel, and then contrasted with these really strong lines makes a really nice composition. And we can see that really it's the use of these blues and the pinks together that really makes something really interesting. And here again we have a really great composition. We have some interesting pieces here that are contrasted by this person who's got a lot of contrast for the photo, and then with this color that really kind of brings it all together. So just a few really great uses of collage. And as designers, we get to really kind of pull things together and create something that's going to be really interesting for us. I think this is going to be a really fun project for us. So one of the first things that we need to do is we need to gather up some photos. And so what I have started to do, and I'll just show you, these photos really need to be photos that you have taken. You don't need a fancy camera. You can take them on your iPhone or on your Android, but they really need to be ones that you have taken pretty recently. I can tell if you've pulled off something off of Facebook or something like that, and that's really not going to work for this. For this, you want something that's got really a great quality to it. It's got sharp lines so that you're not really having to deal with anything that's got a lot of pixelation or anything like that. So what I've done is I've kind of compiled some photos that I thought may work well together. They may not, and I may change them, but for right now, I'm just gonna kind of pull together some into a folder that I think would work well. So I kind of worked on getting, 2 or 3 subjects, 2 or 3 objects, and 2 or 3 really good textures. So subjects are people, and you can choose which people you want. They can be your mother, your friend, you, it doesn't matter. But we just need a really good subject. So I chose a couple different ones. I have this one of my daughter. I have this one of a friend of mine. I love the hat, and I think that there can be some really fun things that happen with this. The only thing I don't like about this one is that I feel like I wish that I had more of the rest of him. So I know I have a couple other photos of him, and I might use them. And then the other person that I chose was this photo that I took of an old professor of mine who's a printmaker. So some really great photos. Obviously, this is not a brand new one. This is a black and white photo, but I love the idea of having this photo. So then, in addition, I wanted to get some textures. So I thought, why not just take some pictures of some type as a really cool texture? I thought that that might be neat. Obviously, this is not something old or anything like that, but I think that even using something like that could be a really cool texture in the background. And then the next thing I did was take a picture of a piece of paper, which I think could be really fun as a texture. Some other ideas for textures are like grass or trees or sand or a really interesting wall, or there are so many different ones that you could choose. So I say always get more than what you think you need. That way you have several things to kind of play with. I kind of wanted to stick with this kind of printmaking theme. And so I thought I'd kind of get some of the pictures that I've taken of type. This was type has always been really interesting to me, and I think it's just gorgeous. So something like this would be really neat to use. And then this was some other linotype that I used to set an old letterpress. So I think that there's some good choices here. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use. I may even get some more. But as you're kind of working on getting your things for this project, make sure that you're getting really high quality photos that can be blown up as big as you want them, so that you have something that you can use. So get at least a couple photos of a subject, get at least a couple of photos of a texture, and at least 2 different objects that you want to add into it. And then what we're going to do is a little later on in this week, I'm going to go ahead and put out a demo of how we're going to put it together. And then you guys can get started on it. This should be a really great project to do. If you have any trouble through this and you're like, I'm not really sure if this photo is going to work, reach out to me. I'll be happy to kind of talk you through it and see what's going to work best for your composition. So have fun, go out there and get some photos, and we'll touch base back again later on this week when we go through the project details. Good luck.